Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to make this little child's elf slipper. Kind of matches the adult size, and it is for a 12 to 18 month. That's the size that I did it, but I will put up a shoe chart so that you can make it the size you need. And you're going to need some of these fuzzy balls or maybe jingle bells. I put jingle bells on my adult one, but I decided to put these little fuzzy sparkly balls on these. Let's jump right into this. So for this particular little booty shoe slipper, I'm going to use a 4mm for the pattern that I did for a 12 to 18 months. If you need it to be bigger or smaller, then you'll have to go up in hook size. So the actual part the foot's going to fit into is about 4.5 inches. And 4.5 inches works out for the 12 to 18 months. So if you need it to be larger than that, then you're just gonna have to measure as you go. That's all I did when I made that guy. This color of green that I used is a forest green, and it's by Bernat. And the red is the Sparkle from Red Heart. So we're going to start with a magic ring. And we're going to put 7 single crochets inside this magic ring. So I only need 6 of the stitches, but the 7th one is going to be for slip stitching into. So slip stitch into that first stitch. And chain 1. Throughout the entire project, we're also going to be putting a single crochet into our chain 1 space. This is the seam, and it's practically invisible. So that's going to stop the seam from being really noticeable. So our next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So we're going to do 1 single crochet, that one's not going to count as anything, and an increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And you're going to slip stitch into that first stitch. You're going to chain 1. We're going to start counting that as a 1. You've got 9 stitches. You're going to do 3 rows of 1 single crochet in each of those 9 stitches. Starting with the very first space that you just did your chain 1 in, that counts as number 1. So you should have 10 stitches all together, because we're counting the one that we put in the chain 1 space. So 10 stitches, and then you can slip stitch to the top of that first chain and chain 1, and repeat this 2 more times. So that's my 3 rows. This next round is going to help us help our project turn. So I'll put a 1 single crochet in that chain 1 space. That's going to count as 1. You're going to do 5 single crochets. And then you're going to do 5 half double crochets. Slip stitch, chain 1. So I'll repeat that for 3 more rows, and I will see you on the other side. You can already see it curving. So your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 10 stitches. So now we have a very prominent curve. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, starting with the first stitch being in your chain 1 space. That's 2 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. So you should have 13 stitches. So your next round is going to be 7 single crochets, starting with the one in the chain 1 space. And then you're going to do 6 half double crochets. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. That's 3 single crochets, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So that gives you 16 stitches. You're always going to have one extra one. So your next round is going to be 9 single crochets. And 7 half doubles. Now your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase, plus the 1 extra stitch. Next round is going to be 10 single crochets and 9 half doubles. Your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase. Your next round is going to be 6 single crochets and an increase. So this is what you should have at this point. For the next 10 rows, or until you hit the desired length that you need, I need to hit 4 inches. So depending on your hook size, what yarn you're using, you know, different aspects of size differences. Mine, if you're using 4-weight yarn and a 4mm, then it's 10 rows. It should measure 4 inches at the end of it. 1 single crochet in each stitch, and then we're going to switch to red. So this is what it should look like. And when you measure it from where the toe would be, right up here, to the end. It should be 4 inches. If you're making a 12 to 18 month shoe. So, this is where we change to red. So I've gone into my last stitch and I've pulled up a loop. I'm going to finish that with my red. I'm going to slip stitch with my new color and chain 1. So this is where things get a little bit different. And I'm going to cut off my green. I'm going to take these two ends. So this is the straggler from the red that I added and my green that I just cut off. And I'm going to tie those in a knot. Before we get started, we need to tuck these away. The reason I tie them in the knot is just pure safety. So this is the way it should be sitting. Just like this. So this should be turned like that. Because I made the thing like my last one where it turns over to the side. Like an actual elf shoe. So chain 1 and turn. Starting in the same stitch you're in just now, you're going to put 12 single crochets across. So starting in the same stitch. So this is going to be our heel. So when you put your slipper down, it should be right along the back part of your slipper. Chain 1, turn your work. So we're going to decrease the first 2 stitches. So ST2 tog, which means single crochet 2 together. you're going to do 8 single crochets, and then you're going to single crochet the last 2 together. That's my 8 single crochet, and then you're going to single crochet these 2 together. Chain 1, turn your work. You're going to SC2 tog the first 2 together, so decrease, do 6 single crochets, and decrease the last 2. Chain 1, turn your work. This glittery stuff is great, but sometimes this glitter can get in the way. So you're going to SC2 tog the first 2, so decrease the first 2. You're going to do 4 single crochets. And then you're going to decrease the last 2. Chain 1, turn your work. You're going to decrease the first 2. You're going to do 2 single crochets. And then you're going to decrease the last 2. Chain 1, turn your work. So you got 4 stitches left. You're going to decrease both of those. So decrease, decrease. It gives you 2 stitches literally at the top. So we're going to switch to green. So this last decrease, you can finish pulling through all 3 with your green. With your green, you're going to do 3 single crochet decrease. So you're going to have to create stitches all along here. Just try to make it even. And whatever you do on this side, you're going to have to repeat on the other side. So my decrease just about takes me down to the bottom. So I'm going to cut off my red. I'm going to tie these 2 together before I go any further. And I'm going to have to tuck them in. So this is what you should have at this point. For the next 3 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch. Oh, sorry. Slip stitch to this first chain. And chain 1. And don't forget to put 1 single crochet in that chain 1 space and count that as a stitch. So this is what you should have. For the next 2 rows, you're going to do 1 single crochet, but you're going to do them in the back loops. So we don't need to turn this or anything because your back loops are right there. You should have 21 stitches. Now, I know it is a pain in the butt, but if you want this built around the top part of your slipper, then you have to do it in the back loops because that's built in the front loops. So that's why I said if you don't want that around the top of your slipper and you're doing something completely different, then you can bypass this spot. So this is what you should have. And you can fasten off at this point. We're going to reattach. We're going to reattach with red. So hide your little end. So we're going to reattach. But I want you to turn your shoe this way, so the point is facing you. And then I want you to flip it like this. We're going to do this upside down. And it's going to be very hard to see, but you've got 2 rows here. Let's try to come in a little closer. Where's my camera? Oh, it's still so hard to see with this, but you've got 2 rows of front loops right here. Let me get a needle. There's a front loop. So your front loops from when you did the back loops only, you've got 2 rows. So you've got another row right here. You could probably see it a lot better than showing up on camera, but I want you to start on the bottom row. And I want you to reattach with your red. So, put another stitch in that stitch you were just in. That'll count as 1 single crochet. Your next stitch is going to get 4 double crochets in the same space. So that's my 4 double crochet. I'm going to go into the very next front loop and I'm going to do a single crochet. And then I'm going to skip 1 and I'm going to repeat that all over again. 1 single crochet, 4 double crochet in the same space, and 1 single crochet. So we're coming to the end. I'm on my skip 1, and then this is my single crochet. I'm going to just pretend this last stitch isn't here, and I'm going to slip stitch to this first fan that we built, and I'm going to fasten off. That is my cat in the kitty litter box. Every time I'm filming, I swear to God. Okay, Salem. It's enough. I need to bury it to China. So that's our first row. We're going to reattach with green. We're going to reattach in a different spot because we want these fans to be offset from each other. So in between here where I did a skip 1 and then another single, that's where I want a fan to be with the green. So when you reattach to your, here, I'm gonna go over here. And that way, my fans are gonna be in the middle. So again, that's my next, that's my skip one space, and then I have one more space, and I'm just going to ignore that like the last round, and I'm just going to slip stitch and fasten off. So as you can see, your red is opposite of your green, doing it that way. And that is it, other than sewing on the sparkly ball. So this matches somewhat the adult elf slipper. You obviously don't need to do it in the same colors that I did it in. So we just kind of got to straighten the shoe out. So you can block this if you don't want it to continue to curl up. The only thing we got left is this end of the toe. So you can buy these at Dollarama. So I'm going to get a red one. That's what I used on my last one. So these have holes. You can easily put a thing through it. So you just gotta make sure you sew this on pretty good. So my adult ones, I put jingle bells on the end of it. So that's also an option for you. I just thought this would be fun for a little guy toddling along, you know, to have the little glittery ball. There we go. The little elf slipper. Get my other one. There we go. All done. Doesn't fit in very well. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. Thanks for joining me, guys. It looks funny. You could probably aim that way, maybe. No, you really can't. I actually designed it to go that way, so thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.